What's up, armchair fandom maniacs? Welcome to another video. Do what the intro card said: like, subscribe, leave a comment, hit the notification bell. We're not going to waste too much time on this intro. We're going to get right started. We're going to talk about Doctor Strange 2 and the Multiverse of Madness. If you haven't seen this movie, you might want to save this video for later because we're going to talk about everything that was inside the movie. So if you don't want to know what the movie's about or what happens in the movie, just save this video and come back and watch it later. And with all that said, DarthPane.
Gosh, man, you again? Good Lord.
You can't get away from me.
Look, if you've never been to Korriban before, that's about one of the best places you can go get away from anybody is to go to Korriban, especially get away from your Rudy Poo butt.
But, yeah, you're right. Nobody wants to go there.
Actually, the cool people want to go there, but after seeing your intro,
that's why you're there alone with a bunch of dead people.
After all the after looking at your logo of armchair fandom, I think it needs to be renamed potty chair fandom because it looks like you're sitting on a potty chair.
That's pretty good. I might have to work on that. That sounds like a good logo.
I figured you would.
I'll have to redo your logo and have you sitting on a potty chair with your thumb in your mouth.
Now, if you don't want me to show up, I'm not going to be coming on after a logo like that. It has to be wearing my element where I'm at the Valley of the Dark Lords, where only the cool people go. And I don't mean just cool because they're in the dead and the ground cold. I'm talking about cool on life, too.
Cool, yeah.
But now this book right here goes along with the movie we're talking about. This is the new Doctor Strange comic that's out. Unlike the movie, they have killed off Stephen Strange in this comic, but supposedly they're going to bring him back. And the character, which will be revealed in one of the post-mid-credit spoiler scenes we're going to talk about during this review, is prominently featured in this book.
What character? Well, we'll get to that later. Now you got me curious about something.
What about potty chairs? I can believe it.
Yeah. Doctor Strange 2, man. What was your overall impression?
I'd give it 1 out of 10. No, actually, it was a fun ride. It was a good movie. And most of the MCU movies are. I mean, I think there's been a few clunkers we've discussed in the past. But, I mean, there's a couple of things that bothers me. We'll get into is that, I'd heard originally this movie was going to be 2.5 hours. And I think it needed to be that length. Going in there, whatever footage they chopped up in there, I think they could have used in this movie personally. What do you think?
I mean, I really don't know what it was. So I don't know if it could have been used or not.
I think it could have been, whatever it was. It moved really quick. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it really started off pretty quick.
If a movie's good, it can never be too long. Endgame proved that. That movie was over 3 hours long and became the highest grossing movie in box office history.
Right.
So if it's a good story and a good movie, people will pay to go rewatch it. I've never understood these Hollywood executives thinking that they got to shorten movies so they can show it more times in a day. If people really want to see it, if they don't get to see it today, they're going to come tomorrow to watch it. What you should be going through is people coming back to watch it a second, third, fourth, and fifth time. It ain't like if the guy don't get in at 7 o'clock on Tuesday and he's really wanting to see it, that he's not going to come back for the showing on Wednesday. So the length of the movie I've never understood why they think the length of the movie allows them to sell more tickets.
Yeah, you may recall DC did that with Justice League.
Yeah.
And then it showed up whenever they did the Snyder Cut. It was a zillion times better with this 4-hour cut.
Hold on.
Looks like the dark side has found you.
What sense does that make for that light to have a timer on it? But back to what we was talking about.
A lot of sense.
I never like it when I hear that they shorten a movie,
Yeah.
that they cut content out of a movie, because I don't know, man. I always like it. I like going to the movie so much that when the movie's longer, especially if it's something I'm looking forward to going to watch, when I hear that it's like 2.5 to 3 hours long, I'm glad, because if I'm sitting there and if I don't like it, I don't have to. I can get up and leave if I want to,
Right?
or I don't have to come back and watch it a second time. But if it's something that's going to get me coming back, I want it to be longer, because that means if it's something I enjoy, I get more of it.
Well, the thing that gets me is that all these, whether it's a Marvel movie or any of them, during my time of watching these things, we all know there's reshoots. Okay, that's fine. They have to go in there, they see something, add to it. But you're doing reshoots and you still found a way to cut that much footage off. That's a problem to me. And again, I may be making a mountain out of a molehill, but I think I think I agree with a certain shill that's been on YouTube that we know we're talking about, who said that the first and third act was really good, but the second act kind of drug a little bit. I think some of that missing footage would have helped the second act, but we'll never know, because goodness knows Disney's not doing anything with Blu-rays and put extra bonus scenes on there. Heck, Sony didn't even put any of the deleted scenes from No Way Home on there, so that's created enough of an uproar. I guess it's too much of a problem to put scenes you're not going to use in a movie on a daggone Blu-ray anymore.
Yeah. But anyways, we're introduced we enter this movie, and how does it start out, man? I'm always drawing blanks on these situations. I know you find that hard to believe. I seen you smirk right there, but
no, you're kidding.
If you give the first scene, I'll be able to take it from there. What was the first scene?
The first thing is the Marvel Studios montage. So go ahead, you got it now. Marvel Studios fanfare. Go ahead, there you go. Oh, that's right. Yeah, you further blank. My bad.
Yeah.
The beginning scene, if you recall, is when you have Defender Strange, which is basically, this is something I didn't know myself, because I bought the Defenders comics some as a kid, but I don't recall him wearing that outfit. But apparently it begins with the new character, America Chavez, running with Doctor Strange in the Defender outfit, and they're trying to get to this gleaming book that's on this portal, or on this platform, which turns out is the Book of the Vishanti. That's the opening.
Yeah, so we actually pick up, the movie starts in the multiverse.
Right.
From our universe that we've been following this whole time
because the events in that causes him to wake up in his bed in our universe, like, what am I dreaming here?
Yeah, and we're introduced to the idea that when you dream about an alternate version of yourself, you're dreaming about that actual version in another part of the multiverse. So we open the movie, we're with what you say, we're already with America Chavez and Doctor Strange, whatever you're calling him, Defender Strange, and they're trying to get that book, and something happens that knocks. She's got these abilities where she can travel through the multiverse, but she don't know how to use those abilities yet on her own. It's just something that happens, and something happens in that scene while they're trying to get that book that makes her jump into the Doctor Strange universe for the character that we're used to, that we've been following through this entire MCU journey.
Please disregard the technical difficulties at this time.
I think that's a good effect for the Multiverse of Madness Destruction myself discussion.
I think it just goes along with Fly By Night Productions, but we won't go there.
Well, it's armchair fandom. Like I said, it's not Siskel and Ebert professional movie reviews.
We're not there yet, but we're getting there.
So yeah, she ends up in our universe that we've been following through the entire MCU, and is introduced to our Doctor Strange, and they have the conversation. We find out she's got these powers. She don't know how to use them completely. Him and her and Wong are talking. What else? What do you got for me?
Well, remember too, prior to that, and again, we were watching Defender Strange, who gets killed, as if you recall, at the beginning part of that, helps her escape to our 616 universe, and Doctor Strange wakes up and he's, says that dream again, and then he's getting dressed for a wedding, and it turns out to be Christine Palmer's wedding, who, was his, love interest from the preceding movie. And then, of course, we have to have the doctor, who was basically his understudy, for lack of a better term, show up in the church and say, you're the great superhero and stuff, but you still didn't get the girl. Well, what did you get? I mean, you still raiding the vending machine for extra bag of chips? I mean, what do you want to do? Come here and throw shade to master the mystic art, you bozo.
Yeah. The guy who's one act saved the entire universe when he gave up the stone.
Hey man, you give up that stone. What was it? Wasn't there anything else we could do? No, you're right. There was plenty of options. I just decided to pick one out of the dart. Would throw a dart at it. Of course, there wasn't no other options.
So where do we end up from here, man? America Chavez, was Scarlet Witch already trying to get to her?
Well, it's revealed basically like I said, you go from the Defender Strange to Stephen's dream. He goes to the wedding, and then he hears the big commotion outside the church, and that's where you see the Gargantos, I believe is what the name of the character was, that was trying to get America Chavez. Well, Doctor Strange and Wong clearly, they defeat Gargantos and save her, and she starts telling them all about, multiverse and everything else, and that's what leads us to having Doctor Strange saying we need to get some help. And so he gets an A-level Avenger help, which turned out to be Wanda.
Yeah. But was she already chasing America Chavez through the multiverse trying to get her?
Yes, she was. But see, Doctor Strange didn't know that. And one of the big things on there was a reveal was she is the one that sent that Gargantos to try to capture her. And when Stephen... when she says about, Stephen says, well, we got the kid at Carmitage and everything. We need some help. We need the Avengers to help us there. And he goes, I don't want to get any of these bug characters. I want to get somebody got some real stroke, got some power. And then he says, I can get you back on the lunchbox. Nice little Easter egg there back in the day when I was a kid. And then she says, how are you going to, so you've got Chavez at Carmitage, and he goes, I didn't say her name. And she goes, you're right, you didn't. And that's when all of a sudden the scenery changes, and it goes from looking like, down there at the vacation spot of the Caribbean island to where it looks like, a daggone suburb of Corbin.
Yeah. So the foundation to this movie is basically WandaVision.
Right.
Where Wanda Maximoff, because she lost vision, which is a complaint I heard somebody else talking about earlier, that don't make sense. But WandaVision starts out, she loses vision, and to be with vision, she takes this town hostage and basically creates a world of her own. She's able to manipulate reality. And her reality that she creates for herself is reality where her and Vision exist together. Even though he's dead, he'll be coming back in a different form, not to change subjects, but through the process of that show, her and Vision end up having two kids together, who I'm not familiar with. I've heard their names before.
Tommy and Wiccan.
And at the end of WandaVision, she basically agrees to let the citizens of this town go free and gets rid of her hex that she's put over this town. But at the end of that, you see her with the Darkhold trying to locate another version, trying to locate Tommy and Wiccan. And that's why she's the villain in this one, because she's trying to capture America Chavez, who can travel between all the different universes of the multiverse. She's trying to get her powers so she can find her kids.
Right. Because she heard their voices at the end of WandaVision. So basically, it's almost, you almost really need to watch that show before you watch this movie, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to be lost.
You at least need to have somebody tell you what it was about and how it played out. So then we start with our Doctor Strange and America Chavez. Scarlet Witch basically gets the upper hand in their fight at, what's the place called?
Carmontage. Basically, she tells Steven, look, you've got to the end of the evening to hand her over, or else I'm going to come get her, and it's not going to be pretty.
Yeah.
And
Steven, and that place is, to anybody watching that doesn't know, that place is where Doctor Strange journeyed to learn the art, the mystic arts, basically, because he was a surgeon that lost the use of his hands in a car crash. So he uses his hands for something else now. It's basically to perform magic spells. But now him and her have to start traveling through the multiverse to get their hand on that book that we seen earlier.
Yeah, the Vishante. Yeah. And but basically, whenever they, he rallies all the other, Wong rallies everybody there at Carmontage. Basically, they have the shields up and everything else, and Wanda manages to get through there no problem and just starts wrecking the place. And so they have to use America Chavez's powers to go to the multiverse to get away from it.
Yeah. So one of the universes we end up in, it was an awesome part of the movie, man. I mean, we could nitpick it and point out the things that me and you've talked about in private that get on our nerves a little bit, but I don't think it really affected this movie overall, so I'm going to leave it alone in this particular video, because what we got in this part of the movie, I really did like, man. He runs into, we eventually get to the point where they're in a universe where they wake up and him and her are encased in this glass, and he meets a Christine Palmer who's in a universe that knows about the multiverse and have been studying the multiverse and learn things about the multiverse. So while we're there, we're introduced to a group known as the Illuminati, which you could tell is a lot more about them because you read the comics. But this is a group kind of like the Avengers in our universe that oversee things and make decisions that other people can't make. And setting on the Illuminati is Professor X from the X-Men universe, which they brought Patrick Stewart from the X-Men franchise to play that role. They brought John Krasinski, who created and starred in the movie The Quiet Place, to play Mr. Fantastic, Reed Richards. They had the actress that played Monica Rambeau in the Captain Marvel movie, was actually carrying the mantle of Captain Marvel. You had, I don't know that actress's name. I should have had this window minimized so I could get some information if I need it.
Yeah,
Haley
playing Captain Carter.
What's the actress's name? Haley
Atwell.
Yeah, she's playing Captain Carter, which in the What If series, the animated series, we was introduced to a version of her who, in that her universe, she took on the mantle of that would have been Steve Rogers as Captain America, but instead of him taking a serum, she did and became Captain Carter, which is basically the British version of Captain America. Right. And then we had Black Bolt, so I wasn't aware of who he was. Who am I missing?
You're missing Mordo, who when they first entered this multiverse universe, they went looking for Doctor Strange, the Sorcerer Supreme of that universe. Turns out there's a statue outside the Sanctum Sanctorum that said he died defeating Thanos. And the current Sorcerer Supreme of that universe was Mordo.
Yeah. Was he on the Illuminati?
In the comics? No.
No, in this movie. Okay, did that give us 7 members of the Illuminati?
I believe in the he said the Illuminati will see you now. And the Illuminati, I think he was one of them. I believe he was. It was him, Reed, Black Bolt, Captain Carter, Professor X, and Monica Rambeau. That's 6. And that I believe that was the entire Illuminati. So yes, he was part of that. I counted Reed, didn't I? I think I said Reed.
Him, Monica Rambeau, Peggy Carter, Professor X, Black Bolt, and Mordo. I'm believing there should have been 7, and there was somebody there that we didn't see.
Well, no, I can see. Okay, you have Professor X, you have Reed,
Because
Black
there was a seat.
Yeah, Mordo, and then you had Captain Carter, and then you had Monica Rambeau. That's 6. You had 6.
I mean, what I'm getting at is I wasn't sure if there was supposed to be 6 or if there was supposed to be 7.
I don't think there's supposed to be 7. I think it was the 6. I can't remember exactly how many there was in the comics. I could probably sit and think and count all the ones that were usually on there. But generally, I think 6 is what we had. As far I know, Mordo had to be on there, the Illuminati, because the Sorcerer Supreme is on the Illuminati in the comics. That's usually Doctor Strange.
It's not a really important issue with it. The only reason I was asking is because I thought there was a seat that was empty, and that there was somebody else supposed to be there, but it could have been just Mordo because it never showed him seat.
Probably his seat. It's probably his.
But anyways, Scarlet Witch finds them while they're in this place with the Illuminati, and I don't know what building they're in or any of that stuff. I'm not a comic reader.
I think they ever said what building it was.
But she pretty much faces off with Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt, Captain Carter, and Captain Marvel of this universe, and just goes through them like a hot knife through butter, basically. And I loved all of that stuff in this movie. And the one thing I thought that was awesome was the take when Professor X, because of his mental abilities, as that's his superpower, basically, is he goes into her mind, basically trying to pull the Jedi mind trick of the Marvel universe. But I like the way they visualize that because he finds her, Wanda, not Scarlet Witch. He actually finds Wanda basically suppressed in Scarlet Witch's subconscious, and they visualize it by him being in this place that was nothing but white. And he finds this pile of rubble with Wanda hid under it, and he tries to pull her out of that rubble so that she can take over the body of Scarlet Witch. But you see this red smoke just come and swallow him up and destroy him. So she went through Professor X, Mr. Fantastic, Black Bolt. I mean, they're just showing you that Scarlet Witch, with all her powers, probably one of the most powerful beings in the MCU.
No question about
it.
Yeah. She's always been that powerful, and even in the comics, I mean, she's always had that ability. And it's just, the biggest thing with her was always was whether or not she was in a good place mentally. Because if she went to a bad place, there were going to be consequences, bad ones.
Yeah, well, I mean, I knew that about the character because other channels I watch and stuff, they discuss the comics and things, and they talk about stuff like the House of M run the comics had, which I have no idea. Supposedly, this is loosely based on that run. From what I've heard other people say, I couldn't say if it is or not. So by watching other people, I knew she was supposed to be one of the more powerful characters in Marvel. But as far as the MCU goes, we haven't seen her like that. The only thing we've known about her so far is she was Wanda Maximoff that had these powers, and she was one of the heroes in Endgame. But then in WandaVision, we've seen her mental side, like you talked about, going into a dark slide. And this just continued that slide into mental instability, which causes everything we witness in this movie.
Well, if you think about it, if you got a sneak peek of her abilities in Endgame when she just used her magic to grab Thanos up and basically rip his armor off, and if he hadn't used if he hadn't hollered at his ship to start bombarding everything, she would have killed him. So I just goes into question. It's like, you know what? Thanos never, he should have never been able to do what he did, because basically her powers, she could almost wipe out anybody with them.
Before we move on, Ashley, I'm going to remove myself from the stream for a few minutes and mute my mic because we're in a hotel. If you couldn't tell, my background's different.
Ratings
And my wife has had the 4-year-old at the pool, and she just texted me and told me they're on their way back. So I'm going to mute you for a few minutes until they come through the door behind me and everything calms down a little bit. So go ahead, just talk about the movie if you want to. Just take us through each moment in the movie and where it leads to, and then I'll come back.
Okay, well, now that we've got the Jedi dead weight off the channel, we'll get to the real star of the show, yours truly, DarthPane, the king of Korriban. But anyways, we were talking about the movie there. When Professor X is unsuccessful in his ability to rescue Wanda, and he pays the price, of course, it's a question then of Strange and them have to find a way to get back to our universe to be able to get her away from the Darkhold, which is basically the bad book of the dark magic opposite of the Vishanti, which is what they need to defeat her. And by this time, meanwhile, back in our universe, Wanda has, of course, captured Wong whenever it looked and used him to take her to this temple. Now, it turns out at this temple, we have an image of her engraved in stone there, and these monsters that are there that apparently were created by the chaos god Chthon, which is basically the one that gave Wanda her powers. That's another comic Easter egg from the Mr. Lucas wouldn't be able to tell you. But anyway, once Wanda gets there, and basically, she disposes of Wong. You almost think of Wong's dick. She just flings him off the cliff, but you got what she needed from him. She's able to use that to try to dream walk to get there to find her children, which is what she's trying to do. And it's basically a race between if she can get to her kids ahead of when Doctor Strange and America Chavez can get back to our universe. But to be able to get back to our universe, turns out Doctor Strange has to go find the evil Doctor Strange, which we're introduced to in the What If series, which was just on Disney Plus earlier in the year. And there ensues, once he finds him, he has to go and have a battle with his evil self to be able to get a hold of their version of that universe's version of the Darkhold, which is, as I told you what it was earlier. And by doing that, he is able to do what Scarlet Witch is doing, which is dream walk from one universe to the next. And he's like, well, Christine's like, well, how are you going to be able to do that? And it turns out that Defender Strange, who had died earlier at the beginning of the movie and who Stephen had buried in our universe, he was able to transfer his essence, not almost like his astral form, but not quite, to the Defender Strange, and it almost looks like a zombie, but it's really not. And he's able to use that as for lack of a better term, as a avatar to be able to battle Wanda, the Scarlet Witch, in our universe. And of course, Wanda, basically is she's wrecked Karmatage. She's basically wrecked, tore up the Illuminati. So that's no easy task, to say the least. But as Stephen gets there, he's able to battle with her, and he's able to hold his own with her. But she's not going to be able to be defeated that way. And basically, America Chavez has to come there, and he has to tell her, look, you've got the ability to kick her rear end. And she's like, well, I don't know how to use my powers. And he goes, well, of course you know how to use your powers. Because whenever we needed to leave, the first time, you took us to the daggone universe that we needed to go to. And you know exactly what you need to do to be able to defeat her. And really, defeating her is not really what's going to happen here. But basically, they have to show Wanda that, basically what you're doing is wrong. And I think Wanda gets that whenever she's in the preceding universe and her kids are scared of her for what she's done. And that version's Wanda. Basically tells her, you know, they'll be loved. And, you know, that's all, you know, a mother would want. You know, talk about that on Mother's Day. That's basically what, you know, you want to have happen. You want, you know, mothers will always put their kids ahead of their needs. And basically, to sum the story up, and welcome back, Lucas. Well, not really. I basically told.
Well, I figured I'd come in and rescue this
while you were out
disaster.
dipping in the pool.
Yeah, I figured I'd come back and save this disaster.
Actually, the ratings skyrocketed as soon as you plummeted out. And of course, we got a bunch of thumbs down as soon as you came back in. So, congratulations. You ruined the show again as usual. Way to go. Keep being you, whatever.
Yeah, I know, man. I'm just a drag.
Well, you said it, I didn't, but it is what it is. But basically, what I did, Jamie, I told everybody how we left off where Doctor Strange was. You know, they were trying to, you know, where she had just, you know, wanted to just whack Professor X, and basically I talked about how
you don't have to talk. You don't have to rehash it, man.
Well, we're a little bit slow, and I wanted to catch you up on what's going on.
What part did you get up to?
I got up to the part where Stephen's telling Stephen, you know, by using the dark hold to travel, to dream walk, to go to our universe, was telling America Chavez, says, look, you know how to use your powers. You got us to the right portal whenever the movie first started. He goes, you got the power to go and kick that witch's butt, which we all know that's not really going to happen because only one that can beat Wanda really is Wanda. That's where we left off. So feel free to take us from here right to the iceberg. You're
welcome. Yeah, so I mean, just to wrap things up, get this over with. America Chavez basically opens the portal at the end, and she talks to Scarlet Witch, talks to another version of Wanda, and convinces her to do the right thing. And go ahead and wrap it up, man. I got some distractions going on.
As usual, having to carry the show from Korriban, no problem. Basically, what happens once Wanda realizes that her kids will be taken, you know, or loved by her multi-universe self, she brings down the temple on herself. Now, you see some red magic escaping from the temple as this happens, which, you know, Lizzie Olsen's not going anywhere. She just signed the contract extension, and, you know, she's going to be back. She's a huge character, very popular. She'll be back. And what happens is they showed Doctor Strange. He's back at the Sanctum Sanctorum. You know, him and Wong were talking from Carmitage and everything. Well, actually, they go back to Carmitage as they're cleaning up the rubble, putting it back together. And Stephen takes the door and goes back to the New York Sanctum. And as he's going outside, he's walking toward, you know, like he's going jogging or whatever. And all of a sudden he starts collapsing in pain. And it looks like you saw when he battled his evil self from the What If series, a third eye popped up on his forehead, just like the evil Strange had. And that's how the movie ends before the mid-credit scene.
Yeah.
The mid-credit scene, as I was talked about earlier, was very important because it reveals a new characters being introduced on that scene, and it's Clea, who turns out in the comics right now is the current Sorcerer Supreme, and secondly, she is the wife of Doctor Strange, and also
that's a shock.
Of Dormammu.
That's a complete shock.
Well, again, I understand what you're saying, but Stephen Strange will be back because the whole purpose of the comic right now is Clea's trying to find a way to bring him back to life. So it's not like she's wanting to take the man and just run with it. But that's what the comic's doing right now, which I find incredibly hard to believe, seeing as how the fact that the movie's so popular. Why would you kill the guy off prior to that? But then again, this is Marvel. Who knows what's going on? But I mean, again,
well, so many years of source material to draw from. Why are they in such a hurry to draw from stuff that's being written right now?
Well, what they're doing right now. Now, again, the Clea character. Now, again, I've only read Doctor Strange on and off for the years. I've started doing it more avidly recently. The Clea character is the sister of Dormammu, who we all know is the leader of the dark dimension. She was married to Doctor Strange, still is, in the comics. They are bringing her on there because I don't know if they're going to have him end up with Christine Palmer going forward. I don't know what Rachel McAdams' character is going to be going forward. I think they want to have another sorceress, so to speak, to help him combat Mordo and what's going to happen with probably the Secret Wars Avengers movie that's coming up down the road. So that's why they introduced her, and I got no problem with that.
Yeah. Yeah, just some final thoughts before we wrap this up. The main issue I had with this movie, like I said, I had a blast watching it. I even looked over at you a few times while we were watching it and was really enjoying what was going on. The one issue I had was the fact that we had this character, America Chavez, that just showed up in this movie. When she showed up, she didn't even know how to use her powers. And she's basically the one that saved the day after we find out the master of the mystic arts can't do nothing with Scarlet Witch.
You know what I forgot to do during the movie while we were watching that I like to do when we go see him? I forgot to do like this. You know, the Michael Myers thing where you're just expecting him to show up and start stabbing everybody out of the corner.
Yeah, that would have been useful in the Illuminati stuff.
Yeah.
My favorite part of that whole scene was probably when she took Captain Carter's shield and sliced her in half with it.
And the funny thing, you made a comment earlier about Black Bolt. Now, again, Black Bolt's the leader of the Inhumans, and that short-lived show that was on ABC. The same guy that played him, they had him cognitive accurate this time. But they just, again, I'm not an Inhumans fan or anything, but the way they did it with just removing his mouth and just getting rid of him, I just they did no service for the character at all. I didn't really care for that. And to finally see John Krasinski as Reed Richards and just to have him gone in about 5 minutes, I didn't care for that either.
Yeah. But I mean, that's
my biggest problem was this. And I told you this earlier. I thought this was a good movie. Got no problem with Sam Raimi. I like Scott Derrickson, who did the first movie. And I hated that him and Marvel split. His vision for this movie was Nightmare was going to be the villain. I think that would have been perfect to have gone off from a season 2 of WandaVision. You could have done everything they did in this movie, and you could have had that too. That's just me. They'll never do it, but that was just my thoughts on it.
No, I agree with you. As somebody that don't read the comics, but I still follow some of the YouTube channels that covers the MCU that also cover the comics, I became aware of the villain, the Nightmare, and I was like you. I was hoping to see that villain because in this part of the MCU, the supernatural, I thought a character named the Nightmare would be, and they knew what they was doing with the trailer when they come in and teased that he was going to be in it by having Doctor Strange utter the words, "Every day I wake up in a dream," and then the nightmare happens.
Yep, and then you have dream walking.
Yeah, I mean, he was probably in it. I wouldn't be surprised if they cut it out, to be honest with you.
You may be right on that one. That'd be a shame.
Yeah. All right, man. I still like the movie. I'm going to give it I don't know, man. What do you say?
I give it an 8.
Yeah. I probably wouldn't go that high on it just because of some of the things I'm not going to talk about that just gets under my skin.
I don't think it was as ready up in your face as you think that was. And I thought the actual action itself, my problem with it is the thing I just outlined and the fact I think it was a little too short. But I think the action and everything was, as usual, up to their usual standards.
Yeah, I do too. I just don't think, I think the stories lose a lot when the actual story doesn't make for great storytelling when they use shortcuts around characters like America Chavez. I have no problem with that character, but you got to develop the character. You can't just have her show up in a movie you've never met her before. When she comes into the movie, she don't even know how to use her powers, and then in the course of the movie, she saves the day. You know, I don't buy it, and I don't think that makes for good storytelling. So I would give it probably about a 7. I didn't. All that stuff just irritates me, man. I'm not going to go into it on this video. We might do a separate episode on that in the future. But with all that said, man, I just want to thank everybody for tuning in. Like our videos, subscribe, leave a comment, and hit the notification bell. And
hit us on Twitter, hit us on Facebook. Just don't hit us.
Yeah, Twitter, Facebook. That's on the intro card now. All the Facebook and Twitter information is on our intro card. So, with all that said, man, Ashley, have a good night. Everybody else, have a good night. We'll talk to you later.
Later, guys.